Lieutenant General Rameshwar, Yadav, from your military lens, sitting at a distance, observed from an operational, strategic and tactical perspective in the way the war is shaped up, how long do you see these hostilities and this war go on for, sir?
Rahul, it is a politico-military audit that we have to do. Let's just very briefly, you see on 7th October, Hamas, they struck Israel. So they were very well prepared. They had done their homework very well and they executed the operations, offensive operations very well. And thereafter they retreated into a massive built-up area that you have. And the defense potential of a built-up area is tremendous. It requires a lot of time to clear. It entails a lot of casualties, which Israel probably cannot sustain. You see, what has happened after the 7th October? They surrounded Gaza, 35 kilometers by 10 to 15 kilometers, all right? But for one fortnight, they do not move forward, other than the surrounding this. Primarily, they wanted to plan from where they have to attack. And in a built-up area, I must clarify to your viewers, that attack has got to be astride the roads, all right? And all these roads are going to be covered up by these tall buildings you have, multi-story buildings you have. Each and every window can be converted into a pillbox. There'll be small arms. They're going to be anti-tank fire from there. They are going to erect roadblocks with mines and IEDs, etc. So it is a very difficult task, but not only this, from troops to task-wise, for clearing each house, you require section to a platoon worth of forces, and that too after a very heavy casualty. And once you have captured these areas, you have to retain these. So you need more troops. So therefore, the requirement of troops are going to be colossal. That is one. And second, the time required to clear up the entire Gaza, in my perspective, it is very, very difficult. You have to see, in this kind of situation, the three things you have to consider. One is the demography, topography, and the geography. As far as topography is concerned and the demography is concerned, it favors Hamas because they belong to this area and all the Palestinians are there, their support base. So they can...
How much of Hamas's military capabilities, according to you, Lieutenant General Yadav, how much of Hamas's military capacity has been degraded in the past month, and how much of it still stays fighting fit as the Israelis circle Gaza? How much of a military pushback are you expecting from Hamas in its current state?
You see, Hamas is going to fight and they're going to survive to another day, all right? So they fight on one front wherever Israelis attacks are coming, and thereafter it is their own area. They know the complete terrain and they can shift their force. Wherever they see there is an offensive coming in, it is going to be a pitched battle. And near parallel, what you can see in this kind of situation is what happened in Mosul. It took 9 months to clear it. Wherein in Mosul, the IS fighters, they were generally outsiders and the township was generally vacated. But here, the complete population is there, the multi-story building and the massive buildings. Clearing them is a big problem. Either you destroy all of them. For that, the kind of ordinance you require is colossal. Does Israel have that kind of ordinance? That is one point. And second point is, there is a war fatigue. You cannot carry on this kind of a fighting in built-up area for months and years together. So, in my perspective, what is happening as of now, the battle fatigue is already on. It is more of a stalemate. You see, yesterday evening, there is a message that we have reached the coast. So, how much territory they have taken? 10 odd kilometers, that also onto the sides. So, it will take time, all right, in case this campaign carries on. In my perspective, it is unlikely to carry on. The likelihood of ceasefire, because more civilian casualties, the perception of Israel being a victim is changing into an aggressor.
No, but you're saying that there's likely to be a ceasefire, while that might be a rational way of looking at things. Abhijit Iyer, given the fact that Benjamin Netanyahu has said very clearly that there's no question of ceasefire till the Hamas continues to breathe, is a ceasefire possible, or will the Israelis be able to bash on regardless of international pressure?
You see, the military objective which has been set by Israel is, in my perception, is not likely to be achieved. Reason being, you are trying to finish an ideology. Ideology is in the mind. For a military objective, if you say, all right, capture area so and so, it is feasible. but capturing the minds of people and all those who have highly indoctrinated on their religious cause, it is very difficult. All right. And plus, after fighting on the front, the Hamas cadres, they can march into the civil population. It is very difficult to recognize who's a civilian and who's a combatant. So it is a very, very difficult order. And I don't think it can be, Hamas can be finished. They will survive in some form or other. Initially, yes, because the kind of destruction that has been impacted on them, it may create a small window for some kind of a reconciliation. And in
Okay,
that,
so
both the
you're saying
parties
a
as of now
reconciliation
trying
is
to
likely, but Abhijit
gain.
Iyer, look at the ISIS. The brutal means deployed by the US and the UK led to the ISIS being degraded to the extent where, at this moment, it's a much lesser threat than it once was at its peak?
Absolutely. Look, let's go back to the previous question because, this international pressure that we're seeing, let's first break down what it is. Do you see any countries in private pressurizing Israel, at least the ones that have massive trade with it? I think the only one I've seen actually kick down on Israel right now is China, right? And Israel is also reconsidering its entire relationship with China. Russia's playing both sides as it always does. The Arab countries in private are egging on Israel because don't forget, especially the monarchical states, they hate Hamas. The only two monarchies that that get along with Hamas, have some kind of a modus vivendi with Hamas, are Qatar and Jordan. Jordan is a gone case in the Israeli diplomatic worldview because ever since they tried to annex the West Bank in 1950, 2/3 of Jordan's population is actually Palestinian or of Palestinian origin. Qatar, again, is almost irrelevant in the Israeli diplomatic and military calculus. We also need to go back to what America has said. They have put out warnings to both Hezbollah and to Iran, telling them that the main reason that their fleet is deploying boats to the Mediterranean, the fifth fleet is being put out to sea out of Bahrain, is to prevent any escalation by Iran or Hezbollah against Israel. I think there's going to be a significant amount of diplomatic support, at least as long as we saw for Ukraine, so maybe about 8 months to a year, year and a half. And then obviously, if it's an open-ended operation, I think Israel is very aware of this, that if it's an open-ended operation, that support will wither away, wane, and ultimately dissipate. It will also dissipate internally within Israel. Don't forget, Rahul, we saw South Lebanon. You remember when Ehud Olmert, or was it Ariel Sharon, who withdrew from South Lebanon? There were mothers of troops killed in South Lebanon, pressurizing the Israeli government in Tel Aviv, in Jerusalem, and things like that. So these things come with a finite shelf life. I would say, again, 6 to 8 months minimum, say up to a year, year and 2 months maximum in terms of how long Israel can resist.
Well, we're in the realm of probability, but you've heard two sharp brains give us their insights on what they think might happen next and how long it may take.